Growth Partnerships, the 1%. I'm KK Hart, and it is an honor to be here with you live in New York City today. I want to introduce myself for a moment and give you some context around generational growth and introduce my amazing partner today and our founders. So I think my background would be interesting for you to share because it explains why I feel so passionately about partnership as a acquisition, growth, and investment expert. I often see that the answer to growth is not capital or a check, it's support and partnership. And so for me, I thought about generational growth as I've been helping ambitious founders for some time. And I've really thought to myself, there's more that we can do beyond the basics. And no shade to maybe another deal making show that you may have seen, but I truly believe in access, capital, and connection. So I want to read you just a few statistics about maybe why this would be important to you today. Maybe you're a founder and you're starting out and trying to figure out whether or not you need capital or support. Perhaps you're considering investing and really curious about startups and what it's like to be on the cap table. And so if there's one thing I would tell you is that this show is really dedicated to being a venture alternative. I don't have any shade for my venture friends. I think they're fantastic, but I just think that there's another way to do business that a lot more people should consider, and especially underrepresented founders. So when I think about what really matters to grow a business, it's partnership, it's expertise, and of course, it's funding and figuring out how to really get your product market fit. So let's talk for a second about why this matters, because I know it matters to me, and I imagine it matters to you. Women control 85% of spending, but less than 2% of women-owned businesses ever reach $1 million in revenue. Ladies, we're consumers when we should be owners. We're pitching when we should be partnering. And this show is proof that another way is possible. And I'm joined by an amazing expert, some really cool founders, and maybe a potential partner. So can we take another minute just to highlight the obvious before we dive in? While many women are starting businesses and really getting out there with their start, I think what's missing is the focus on ownership. In fact, I believe that ownership is the imperative. Less than 1% of women exit or even have the distinct privilege of being able to acquire a business. And you've got one of each today on set with you. So when I say get your assets together, which is my thing, I really believe that it's from the heart and also to help you to be your very best. I've owned 10 businesses and I'm really living proof that you can be successful in unconventional ways. And I believe this is incredibly important to share, especially now, even now. And there's something really exciting about being some sort of an asset manager, which is what I've done the last 20 years. I basically created my own investment fund through businesses and partnerships that I'm really passionate about, leveraging my strengths and my skills along the way. So ladies, there is an unstoppable rise to our desire to be owners. But the gap is real. While women own just about 40% of all businesses, we only account for about 6% of revenue. And closing this gap could add to $10 trillion to the US economy. But at the current rate, it'll only take 120 years, short time, in order for us to get there. There's a massive wealth transfer coming. By 2030, women are projected to control and own 1/3 of global wealth. This is an unprecedented opportunity, but so often, and something that I hear so often is around that stuck, that feeling of not knowing what's possible. And if I'm being really honest, ladies, we do not have our assets together. And so even though less than 2% of women reach the $1 million mark, less than 2% also receive venture capital. That's why we're here today. So when I say get your assets together, one more time, probably not, I'll say it a couple more times tonight. It's really because I believe that you can create your own success. So with that, let me introduce a FIT formula, a new way of considering financial fitness. And I encourage you today, no matter where you're at, what stage or age or what you're thinking about doing next, maybe consider if you can prioritize these things as part of your success story. So the first is Freedom First Foundations. When I think about this, it really behooves me to share with you that sometimes it's not about the exit, but it's about building something lasting that you feel good doing. But that means you've got to build a profitable business. You've got to build a business that's sustainable. And I think so often, especially with generational growth, I'm going to give you tactical tips and steps in order to do so. And then there's the income generations. So when I think about generating cash flow, I believe that the best businesses often can be self-sustained and make decisions that allow them to be autonomous and to really write their own success. But that means we've got to think about short and long-term goals and have a really diversified approach to our success. So maybe it's not just one thing, but really kind of putting together a portfolio of success for us. And lastly, and I really love this one, it's to focus on thriving and transforming. I always say shift happens. Shift happens a lot in business. And I think the ways to make our dollars work harder is often less about working harder, but actually working smarter. And that's where collaboration and partnerships come in. So the goal tonight is to empower you, to educate you, to have some fun with some other entrepreneurs, and really give you a chance to grow. So let me take a moment here and introduce my very good friend, Lisa Barnett. As the founder of a company called Little Spoon, Lisa secured with her co-founders just under $100 million in venture capital and is one of the elite few founders who exited their businesses successfully. She's also one of the most important people in my life. I'm going to try not to cry when I share this. She's been a key member of my own personal advisory board. As my last acquisition, Ghost Democracy, I really decided that I need to practice what I preach, and I needed coaching and advising, just like I explained that people should have that for themselves. So Lisa's been an instrumental part of my success, both acquiring Ghost Democracy and making it profitable in just 3 years. That company has already made us millions of dollars, and I wouldn't be here today without her support and the support of her co-founders at CPG Fast Track. CPG Fast Track is an interesting group. If you're in CPG, I highly recommend it. It's everything cohort support, and I would say lots of ways to learn and grow and get to know kind of how to make your own success in CPG. Lisa has founded that company with other powerhouses like one of the co-founders from Four Sigmatic Mushroom Coffee, Jason Pfeiffer from Entrepreneur Magazine, Dave Kalina from O2 Hydration, and Matt Garland, who's best known for Smart Passive Income. They are phenomenal. So Lisa, thank you for being here today. I'd like to take a few minutes and double click on you and your success.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me. It's been an absolute, the feeling's very mutual. I'm so glad that CPG Fast Track brought us together, and just really excited to be here and hopefully get to talk to some amazing founders.
So cool. So tell us a little bit about your story. So I gave the highlights reel, which everybody likes, but maybe just give us a highlight as to what your life was like before you became Lisa from Little Spoon. And then also now, ever since, how did you go for growth at those two different stages?
Yeah, I mean, just taking a step back, like I've always been in the consumer world. That's been kind of my bread and butter from the beginning. I started out in big corporate. So I worked at the Boston Consulting Group, and then I was at Estee Lauder companies. And gosh, I haven't went back that far in a little bit. It makes me feel very old because I'll orient everyone. Like when I joined Estee Lauder companies, for example, this was like right when online was really becoming, it was a thing. It's not like it was the advent of online. Don't get me wrong. I'm not that old, but it was really when, especially industries like beauty were starting to look at the online channel and look at the rise of YouTube and beauty vlogging and be like, what's the role of our portfolio of brands here? And I had the opportunity to play a hand in driving kind of that strategy across the portfolio. So
wow, those are fun days.
Really fun days. Really instrumental in, I think, solidifying for me, like I definitely want to be on the side that's driving sort of the innovation in the startup world. So after then, I went to Wharton for business school. And while I was there during and after, I found my way into venture capital, which I know you were alluding to earlier. But so my bias very much is, I kind of grew up through the venture capital ecosystem. And when I joined in venture capital, I worked at two different funds. And I think it was then that I started really getting excited and looking at opportunities through this lens of life milestones, and life milestones specifically as an entry point to building really incredible businesses and brands. So what do I mean by that? I mean, anything from you sold a house, you lost your job, you got a health diagnosis, you became a parent, those types of things, because they are moments in time when your consumer preferences, your priorities, your behavior starts to change. And it's these moments in time where you start to do research and you start to look for solutions and you want to connect with other people during that time. So when you're building a company, and for me at the time when I was in VC looking for companies, that got me really excited because I saw opportunity.
Wow, I just learned something major. I have this investment thesis of my own, and we kind of linchpin one ideal client. and we serve them in many different ways. But actually, you just knocked it up a notch, because the idea of really leveraging those key milestones is great for sales, because that's when people are actually demand. There's surge, there's interest.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, and it's like when you're thirsty for information, it's really hard to sell something to a person when they're not looking for a solution. But this is a way also to get back to the basics of like, just what is the problem you're trying to solve.
That's so good.
And
see, this is why I believe being a coach who has coaches is fantastic.
I love that. Yes. And I think, like, unsurprisingly, I got really obsessed with looking at this milestone of like becoming a parent. And I wasn't a parent then. I'm actually not a parent now yet. But I thought that, hey, like many others, there is this macro shift happening. At the time, it was like my generation, millennials, started like aging into the parenting stage.
Yep.
And, it's a demographic that obviously looked different than the previous generation. It is the same story with every generation, just a different mix of things. For millennials, first generation that had a big majority of dual income households, which means you're busier when you become a parent. More health aware, and a bunch of other things that kind of led me to then, with my co-founder, starting Little Spoon, which, as you kind of alluded to, so at Little Spoon, I was the president and the CMO there and co-founder, and we launched the business in 2017. And, through that process and during my tenure there, became, a very large direct-to-consumer baby and kids food brand. Raised over 90 million in venture capital, and sold, I think at the time during my tenure, like 20 million meals, and launched across lots of different SKUs like baby food, pouches, big kid meals, things like that. And I think in the process really built an incredible engaged parenting community that really alleviates a pain point, which is like keeping your kid healthy and doing it in a way that's like convenient, but also not sacrificing.
So true.
So
everything I've ever heard from a parent who uses Little Spoon is exactly that.
That's glad to hear. And, since then, and getting back to like how you and I met, so, I left that business 2 years ago, and I have really been focused on now taking those experiences that I learned as a co-founder and applying them to a lot of different areas. So I have now since worked, I think, directly with over 50 different founders, assessed probably 150 different consumer businesses, and kind of have a relationship with them in different ways, whether that's advising, whether that's investing, whether that's some sort of collaboration, and obviously also co-founded a company called CPG Fast Track with my partners who KK mentioned. And CPG Fast Track is a real culmination, I think, of a body of work in an industry, CPG, meaning consumer packaged goods, by the way, where, we saw a gap that services, or, you were saying before, venture capital is one route to learning and growing your business, but there are a lot of other routes. And we kind of saw a gap between what an accelerator might offer and what a consultant might offer and what a VC might offer, being a part of that. And we said, hey, we can solve that, and we could bring that together with a layer of a highly vetted peer community of founders who are incredibly high caliber, like yourself, to build and grow together. We're really in the first innings there.
Oh, it's been so cool. I've met some very close friends through that program already, and obviously the greatest advisor that ever lived. So,
definite overstatement, but I appreciate it. Thank you.
So moving forward in your career, I'd love to know what the future looks like for you. So going for growth for you was big for a while. But as you're settling into different stages of life and different interests, what does it mean to go for growth now?
I actually really like this question because, I don't think you often take that step back to really like frame it up. And actually, Jason Pfeiffer, who is one of my partners with CPG Fast Track, just told me this story. He likes to, I think he would share this. He likes to title kind of his years with like a theme. And I was like,
sounds so Jason, by the way.
It is so Jason. But we were having lunch and he told me this, and I was like, gosh, I'm so inspired by that. That is such a good idea. It's really just about like living with intention. I think to some extent, like you can manifest what you speak into existence and focus on. So what does going for growth mean for me today? I think it means being really creative with what I'm doing, who I'm working with. And for me, it's like compounding opportunity.
Yeah.
So as opposed to necessarily having my hand in one bucket, I can now do a handful of things. Like I mentioned, a slew of them. I'm working on another venture that I'll be launching next year as well. Like, how can I do that in a way that arbitrage is what I'm best at and compounds all these different opportunities together at once, where I play different roles. Sometimes I'm in the front line, sometimes I'm in the back line, and I kind of love it.
Oh my gosh, I was just thinking this is why we get along so well, because that is my favorite thing about what I do is like I like wearing different hats. And I think we're similar in age. Being multi-hyphenate was not always considered great in the millennial era.
No. And like that comes a little bit from, you were alluding to, like the venture capital is not the only route to go. But like when I was in VC, the concept of like the founder being the idol and the mediazation of that, you know, they're all on Netflix and Hulu shows and everything like that. That was really the thing. But I do think there's been a significant shift because of, you know, the way the capital, especially private capital market, has changed and contracted for certain types of industries like consumer.
For sure.
I think that's afforded a new way of thinking about like, how do you go for growth, to use your words, right? It's not just, it could be about fundraising, but that's not the only thing that could get you to where you want to be. And I think there's a renewed conversation around optionality.
Yeah, which is really refreshing.
It is.
I think for a little while there, I call it the female founder era, it was like all in on this idea of kind of performance and playing this one game. And actually, Jason Pfeiffer is the person who made me launch Generational Growth, because he told me this. He said, "You are a complicated person, and I hope you'll take that the right way." And I was like, owned it, loved it, gonna start a media company. And so he really inspired me to own, even at the stage of life I was at, where I was already really, really successful, leaning into all of my strengths at once and going for growth in there. So
I love that. And it definitely mirrors, I think, the chapter of life that I'm in, and that I think a lot of people are working towards too. I mean, I think it was probably like on Instagram, I read this. It's absolutely not my quote. But someone said, like, you know, the ultimate flex or success is really like having the option to choose how you want to spend your day. It doesn't, you might choose to spend it in the exact same way you did when you were grinding and hustling and building, you know, that one company, but it's more the fact that you have that choice and you could structure things that are growing for you, where you're passive, where you're active. It's the combination of things that I think ultimately, if you have the opportunity to get to that stage in your career, like it's really fun.
I think that's real freedom. You know, this is where, when I came up with the FIT formula, originally it started with my TED, which was 2017, actually, coincidentally. And what I found was this idea of getting our fit together was always in my heart. And whether it was actually physically fit or financially fit. And the Freedom First Foundations, you really nailed it, which is I've been work optional for 15 years.
Wow.
So it's a weird life to live when
That's
for
amazing.
15 years I've been working without need.
Wow.
And that has led me to even more success, which is so weird.
It is.
But also leans really, really carefully, I think, into the fundamentals, because if I hadn't done what I did with money, with businesses, with assets in general early, it's really hard to climb out of that. So I love that you're sharing this, because I think more people need to hear the alternate path, and that it's okay to have like another step and a next thing that you're doing.
Yeah, no, I love that. There are always more chapters. And I think my ultimate inspiration, my father's in his 70s and he's like starting a new career. Like it's related and it's his skill set, but like, and he's more energetic than any 20-year-old you will ever meet. Like he's beating out these like 30-year-olds for like jobs. And, you know, and he's always been a small business operator and owner. So, you know, there's never an end to the chapters. I think it's more just like, do you have a choice in doing that or not? And it's okay if you don't have that choice, by the way, but if you do, that's even more fun. And I think it just unlocks a bit more creativity.
Yeah. And I think the greatest way to get there is to be creative with how you structure your next steps and your first steps. So it's so hard to think about kind of the way the world is right now. I feel like there's unnecessary pain. And so I'd love to hear some of your contrarian thoughts around kind of the idea of going for growth, but also what we're seeing from every industry, every shift, because I often find that this sounds so harsh to say, but the fundamentals really are the fundamentals and they have not changed.
Yeah.
But boy, has behavior and consumer spending and all of that changed drastically in the last 2 decades.
It definitely has. I mean, I think there's a lot of directions to even take that conversation. But I think, you know, my bias is always like, how do you build companies and build them for, you know, success?
Right.
I mean, I think most people are optimizing for that. But from my experience, I think, you know, there's a lot of counsel, particularly if you're someone who's looking to build something, you know, quote unquote big, of like, okay, you got to have your strategy. You have to have like scalable channels. You need to understand how to do that. And I think one thing that I find myself going back to, and what I'm working with founders and even myself all the time, is like, there's a lot of value in like, just be unscalable.
Totally.
And I don't mean that like blankly. I'm
Totally.
saying
No,
that a little
say
bit
it.
with some like, you know,
Say
flair
it.
to it.
No, it's so true.
You don't want to spend unscalably. You don't want to do things like that. But what I mean is like, think of your advantages when you're just starting out. It's that your best resource is like your hustle.
Yeah.
And that's what you can control. You can't control the cash you have. You can't
right.
control all of those things. So like, you know, I was just speaking with actually a founder in CPG Fast Track, and like, when she launches her brand, which she hasn't launched yet, she's focusing on one zip code, and she's going to be hand delivering the product.
Wow.
Is that scalable? Absolutely not. Is that a good idea? I say yes.
Absolutely.
Because guess
At
what?
that stage?
Guess what she's going to do? She's going to, one, meet her customer.
Yes.
And she built this product because she had a personal pain point. That customer's presumably buying this product because they share that pain point. Think of that connectivity point. One person that cares about you, you can turn into a channel for customer acquisition later.
For sure.
2, 3, will this work for your first 50? Yeah, I think so. 100? Yeah, maybe. 200? Maybe. Maybe when you get to 5,000? Okay, time to think of a new strategy here. But the point is like, that's really powerful. I have another founder that I work with that she was hitting some friction points in her business, and she decided, I'm going to spend 3 months doing all of customer care, all of customer service.
So good. These are my favorite things to hear.
Yeah. And like, she unlocked a new way of positioning her product, and she was able to now go into the phase of testing if that positioning is right. And if it is, then she could go and iterate on the product. But like, that feedback loop never would have existed if she wasn't willing to do this unscalable activity.
That's invaluable. You know, I often sit with founders after they've already launched or they're already growing.
Yeah.
And what I often see is that they become almost too disconnected from who the client is. It's like product market fit gets you only so far.
Yeah.
But to really be able to go to the next level, you have to know, live, and breathe what your ideal customer needs, anticipate that, to understand their pain points. And one of the best ways to do so is to look them in the face, ask them questions, and get to know them. And that has become, I don't know, maybe we're super OG, but like, it has become the way of the dodo bird because nobody wants to do it. Everybody's so glamorous that they don't want to touch the customer. And I think that, I mean, this is hot takes, but I really think that we've lost our way a little bit. If we're too, you know, Hollywood for our consumer, then what are we doing? And this goes for B2B and B2C, in my opinion.
Absolutely. And I think, you know, this is where I think the rubber hits the road with like AI and other tools that you can use. And it's like, obviously we can't have a conversation without bringing up AI at this point. Not that I'm any expert, but I think as it relates to the conversation of like being in the front lines, you should obviously use tools, make yourself more effective. Actually do that to free up the time to do these kinds of things, but especially in the beginning. But I think this probably holds true throughout the duration of a company, like doing some of these unscalable activities, being in the front line with your customer, it just gives you a different handle on your business and a different opportunity. And by the way, it will compound over time because 100%. What you're doing is building ambassadors, hopefully, and relationships that you can then parlay into something a lot bigger down the line.
Yeah. I mean, if you're listening to this and going, oh, hell no, maybe I think what we would tell you is learn to love it for a period, everything for a season and a reason. And this is a good reason. And it can be as short or as long of a season as you think, but it is my favorite thing to do.
Totally.
Is to go totally under the hood of a business and really get a feel for what is it like to be the customer? What is it like to be interacting with them? What are the things that we haven't even thought about that we wouldn't know? Absolutely. That's such good advice.
No, absolutely. And by the way, one other tidbit, I have another founder that literally in New York City, just going door to door, not ringing doorbells, because for those of you who don't live in New York City, like there's not really a doorbell to ring per se. It's like a building with a lot of apartments, but like slipping things under people's doors or like going to relevant places where she thinks her target consumer is. And like, does that scale? No, that's not going to get you 5,000 customers out the gate, but is that going to get you your first 20 that you could then engage personally and then focus on getting them to repurchase and share and word of mouth? Like that's the dream.
Absolutely.
And I think that relates to another kind of like hot take here, which I love that word besides contrarian works too. But I think it's like invest in your brand early. Like I think we talk about sales. We're going to talk about it today, I'm sure. You got to make cash is king. Obviously you need to make money to stay afloat.
I say cash is queen, but we'll go with it.
Fair enough. No, I should probably say that too. But you know, if you're not spending time investing in your brand earlier on, you're losing out on this like investment that's going to play out over time. I think like particularly with my orient of like e-commerce and products-based companies, but I think this holds true for many different types of businesses. It's easy to get caught in the race of like, well, let me just scale my meta ads. Let me just get one more wholesale account. And
the easy button.
Yeah, the easy, and I wouldn't say, it is not easy, but it can, if you are only spending your attention getting that next sale, what are you not doing? What if that wholesale account is pulled? What if Meta decides to increase their CPAs in a way that doesn't make your business economical? What do you have left? If you've built that audience and built that brand, you have something to fall back on. So it's a future-proofing mechanism too. I just think founders shy away from it with very good reason because it can be hard to measure ROI, especially like, and that's scary.
Oh, it's scary.
I get it. I do think like logically people understand what we're saying here.
Yeah.
Emotionally, it's just harder to do.
It's true.
You know?
And actually I could give the other side of the coin. I really, my behavioral science background makes me very logical.
Yeah.
And I've often struggled with meeting founders who've overspent on brand without actually having the fundamentals first. Yeah. So I think every piece of advice is really knowing who you are, what are you trying to accomplish? Because maybe if you're going to keep this business for 20 years on your own, the brand will matter, but not nearly as much as maybe getting the exit. I often find that one of the competitive moats to get an exit, to get an acquisition, to go to the public markets, you've got to be so different. And you also need to have, I think, a really phenomenal understanding of who that customer is through the brand.
Yeah.
You need to be able to look, understand, feel, touch. The second you pick up the packaging, the client needs to know, what is this company? Why should I buy it? Why do they deserve my money? Yeah. And you really can't do that, to your point, with just meta ads and a dream.
No, and I mean they can surely help. Yeah. But I think like really it's getting back to obviously knowing the problem that you're solving, and then also like doing these activities that increase the opportunities for people to talk about you, increasing the opportunities for virality, increasing the opportunity. I would much rather like take it from a investor perspective. Like I would much rather see a business come to me and say, okay, we don't have a ton of new customers, but my existing customers, look at how engaged they are. Look at how loyal they are. Look at this retention. One metric that I love is like, look at all of the people who have repurchased from you.
That's my favorite.
What percent of those repurchase cohort actually purchased more than 2 times? Yeah. Those are your power users. Yep. If that metric I see continuing to trend, that's something that's valuable, whether it's to get an investment or, to your point, to have some sort of exit, whether it's selling the company or just being able to structure some liquidity event for yourself, whatever that is. Yeah. That is a metric that doesn't even require you to go super big. But what does that mean? It doesn't necessarily mean driving that next new sale. It means spending time on the brand and engaging with your customers and building that love and connection with them.
That's so good. I think about acquiring. I've acquired almost all of the 10 businesses I own. And what's so interesting to me is the best acquisitions are the ones who have got that right, where they've got 1, 2, 3 purchases. They understand how to drive the next 6. And I think that's often what I see that falls apart in the deal, is that I'll look at first purchase and I'm like, okay, I don't love burning the customer acquisition costs, but maybe. But then we look and there's not a second order. There's not a 6th order. So what you're actually giving people, although it seems like, wow, spending on brand seems expensive and hard, it's long-lasting permanence.
Yeah. And by the way, it's not always money that you're spending time on with brand. I think it's a misnomer. Yeah. But building the brand means also like, what do you stand for? Right. How do you want to connect with people, and where can you meet them where they are? I had another founder, CPG Fast Track, ask us in our office hours like a couple weeks ago. We've got our meta ad engine running. I took over this business from a family member. My organic content, meaning like Instagram and other things, it's not great. Like, do I need to be focusing on this? And like, the answer is yes, yesterday. Does it cost money to create content? It can, but here are a couple of ideas. One, he's in a category where it's a life milestone category. It's like you have people who are thirsty and looking for something. He has a local factor to his brand. So like you have a local geo that you can build content around and engage in community around. And three, any content that you create can be parlayed into like performance creative, obviously, which is like really the whole game these days.
That's right.
So it's not so binary. And I think like that doesn't really require a ton of money to do. It just requires saying, okay, out of the 100% of my day, I'm going to intentionally say I'm going to spend whatever percent of that on quote unquote the brand.
Yeah, that's so good. I always think about being strategic, intentional, and proactive. But I think brand often gets looked at as this like pie in the sky, glossy thing. You hire a Madison Avenue, group, and they give you this expensive look and fresh. And I think what we're hearing from you is really tactical, tangible ways to build brand, whether you're, free 99 and just starting out, or you've got some money to play with. I'd love to ask you the uncomfortable question last, which is, what do you think about raising venture these days? I can't tell you how many founders look at me, and I'm usually a non-institutional investor, and then ask about this idea of like taking on that special capital, and they see it as this dream milestone. Where do you think we're at today with that? Is that even the path for most businesses?
Yeah, look, I'm not a VC today. I was a venture capital investor.
She plays one on TV.
in my limited TV appearance of today. But I think that the VC ecosystem has really changed. And I actually think for the better. I think we're in a lot more of a rational, logical place of investing right now. So I don't think it's an enemy at all. I think it's like, this question comes up all the time, particularly in CPG Fast Track, actually.
Yeah.
What is your goal? Venture, from my experience of being an investor, obviously, like VC is capital that's meant to accelerate growth in a very quick way. VCs make money by having a liquidity event, and they underwrite a business for generally very large outcomes. And they want to see you be able to grow very quickly. And thankfully, recently, I think, especially be very capital efficient, despite the fact that they're giving you capital to spend.
I actually love that shift.
It's a great shift, and it's a good thing. Does it work for every type of founder and every type of business? Like, no. And so I think like VC and, the founder, that era of the founder being this idol is like not here anymore. And I think that's a great thing. And I think like to answer your question, should you raise VC money? It's like, well, what is the ultimate goal? What pace do you want to do? And are you in a category or sector where it even makes sense to have venture capital underwriting your business?
Oh my God, please say that. I had this very uncomfortable conversation recently. I run special purpose vehicles and SPVs, another way of raising capital. And I had a conversation recently where I realized founder hadn't thought about the exit or who on earth would give them that exit. So like, who would acquire you?
Yeah.
Does an IPO even come up on the radar of your niche? And the answer was actually shockingly, no, there's no one out there that has the funds, the desire, or even I would say the conviction to acquire that business, even though it's running a very fair EBITDA and a good model. So like to your point, I think the question is always, it depends.
Yeah.
And I love venture. I'm a limited partner in a venture fund. I'm a GP on the private equity side. I love it for what it really is, which is to have massive outcomes and to see big events happen financially. And that just doesn't happen for most businesses.
No, and that's okay. Like having SPVs or other ways, and you're a good example of this, KK, but there are other ways. There are other types of investors who are interested in those types of businesses, especially if you're a cash flowing business. You could do profit shares. You could do, they're all dividend payouts. Like there are other structures to this. It's just that up until recently, I think that hasn't been discussed. And also there are other avenues of credit and debt that weren't, 5-10 years ago, don't quote me, but like, I don't think it was so easy to get financing if you had a PO from a wholesaler. Today, if you have
companies to do it for
if you have $500K in revenue that you brought in and you have a PO, you can probably get financing for that. Like that's amazing. You don't have to go out and fundraise, which by the way, going to your VC question or really angel family offices, anyone you're raising from, you also have to ask yourself, is that time well spent? Because pitching and fundraising is a full-time job on top of your full-time job.
For sure. This is such good information. I hope people really hear our heart in this, which is to give the unconventional advice that can really help them to thrive. Because I think about this often.
Yeah.
It's like, where is the success and where could it really go?
Yeah.
And I often find that the stopgap for most founders is that VC can help them find product market fit fast. I'm like, that's not a great way to spend the money. Whereas, I mean, one of my favorite investments I'm very excited about, I watch these founders use the money that we have given them as well as other institutional capital. And I watch them make a massive change in the business every 3 months. They're going fast, they're going far. And I feel so good about that investment because they're the right fit for institutional capital, for outside investors.
Yeah.
And so I'm really excited to have a conversation with our first founder and really start thinking about these alternate routes of success. I've actually probably done almost everything you've said. I've done revenue-based financing, and done some really weird alternative stuff lately with partnerships, collaborations, and just finding ways to help founders that don't always make me the dilutive option. So
That
I'd
is
love
why you are the expert.
I mean, I don't know. I love to keep talking about this and highlighting it. It's actually the whole reason I launched the 1% is this idea that even 1% of people can get to this new era of like, you either exit or get acquired, or you have the ability to do something unique with an alternative investment. I mean, that's been just a game changer for me.
Amazing.
So this is going to be fun. We're going to take a few minutes and we'll be right back. I'm just going to pull up one thing so I don't mess that up. And I don't know, count me down in like 60. Make it easy
Oh,
to
it's not.
say.
No, it is live. Oh. Okay, we're live.
Like now?
Mm-hmm. Welcome back.
Okay. All right, welcome back. We're joined today by a really amazing, hardworking human. This is Megan from Consi, and I would love to give her a few minutes just to share her story with Lisa and I and with all of you, and really give us, I think, some context to the growing changes in our job and economic landscape. I think so much is happening that's kind of changing our lifetime and the way we view work and the way we view, I think, every aspect of personal connection is changing. So thank you, Megan, for being here.
Thank you so much. I am honored. And gosh, I feel like I've had Consi in my soul for a long time. And now it feels so freeing to be able to come out and talk about it. I know you saw it very early stage when I did my pop-up this summer, but my entire background has really been about helping businesses navigate strategic hires and create high-performing teams, while also, I don't know, I sort of coined myself as like a career matchmaker, where I believe that because of my time spent in retail, building teams and hiring myself, it's something I've been doing for over 2 decades.
Wow.
And to see the landscape change in pivoting from running multi-million-dollar flagships. So early start hiring in my career was with LVMH at Louis Vuitton, to coming out almost 14 years now in the making, to managing an agency side of my business, where now I get to recruit all across North America for some of the most epic and iconic fashion, beauty, wellness, and lifestyle brands for retail, corporate, and wholesale. So a trajectory of a career built in service, built in hiring, built in making lots of money for other people, and navigating job search. I mean, for me, Consi was something about 2 years in the making, but really seeing a massive shift going through the pandemic of really how retail was affected and how so many people were thrusted into unemployment or furloughed and not even knowing where to start. You know, I had people calling me, I mean, my email was uncontrollable, but calling me like, my resume, I don't know how to interview. I haven't had a conversation with anyone in 6 years. I'm like, okay, that's a problem. I always say, always be interview ready, everyone. But with that, you know, I'm like, wow, seeing how things are continuing to evolve, the job platforms out there that are really built for the masses and not for intentionality and precision. Consi is combining AI with a human touch in a concierge platform that really is helping companies from job description to job offer manage their hiring process. And for career professionals, here's your back pocket recruiter career agent that doesn't exist right now. So it's really exciting to provide some new services and resources to, you know, a place in a business that's always going to happen. Hiring's not going away.
Say that.
Everyone. We're always going to continue to hire. We need to be hiring smarter, more strategically, and people are spending way too much money doing it. So
this is so interesting. You're doing something that I think is often a best practice underneath a best practice, which is that you are productizing a service. Could you tell us a little bit more about your background? And I'm going to give you some context. I heard this recently at a speaking engagement. Can you tell us as if you're your best friend bragging on you? So be your own hype girl and just tell us, you know, I find that women often and underrepresented founders often, we sit up really straight and then we say things that sound really good, but we're a little bit timid about sharing how awesome we are. You're so awesome. Tell us how awesome you are.
Thank you. Well, since I've been pitching my soul for about a year away in front of very strategic individuals, there is not a better time than now to make sure that I'm screaming it from the rooftops. Why give me your money? So with that, I would feel credibility comes from me having a book for the past, you know, decade of over $15 million in business in closing deals. And I mean, it's not real estate, everybody. So like, I know that doesn't sound, but when you think about placements and how many thousands of people I've placed in my career, known, like trusted by some of the most iconic brands in the world, from Christian Dior to Christian Louboutin, Makeup by Mario, Victoria Beckham. I mean, I've single-handedly staffed Christian Louboutin's beauty team before it was even acquired by Puig. I've taken on massive projects of hiring the House of Dior in Beverly Hills individual that is running that massive global flagship, to taking on teams that are underperforming and confidentially working with companies to say, we need to make a change, and finding that person and seeing flagships revitalized and money, coming in from, Burberry to Tiffany and Company. And it's actually so beautiful to see many of the individuals I've worked with over the years continue to thrive in their careers and have direction and purpose. And I think when you can help navigate a strategic hire and a strategic candidate in a job where they're going to feel fulfilled and show up every day and perform, it's just been so beautiful to see this evolution of my career over the years, that I truly know I'm meant to hire and be a part of that side of a business. And it's just been an incredible journey. So that's me. I mean, I guess kind of bragging, but also ish, like, there's some pretty good accolades that really I've never dived into, other than over the past few months when I'm like, oh, okay, this is what I've done. Yeah, I've actually done a lot. But you're right. I call it like busy woman syndrome, where we're always on to the next thing. It's like, oh, I did that, but on to the next, So I think really sitting in it and embracing. And I think the whole question in building this platform always comes, and what stage I'm at, why me, why the founder, right? And
Can you answer that for us?
If there's anyone that knows how to navigate behind the Wizard of Oz green curtain, the process as it applies to recruiting, I've seen it on both sides for decades. I've seen a lot of companies waste a lot of money on this process with broken systems. I've seen candidates struggle, a lot of women, to be seen and to be validated for their expertise, because, they've had gaps in their resume, or they're putting a resume into an ATS system and it's filtering for keywords. It's like, we don't need keywords. You're actually hiring a person. Let's build the chemistry. Let's get you in front of a live human. Let's have a conversation. And I just think, for me, you're always the best person to solve the problem you're most equipped to, because I've spent decades in it seeing all the problems. I'm like, no, this isn't it. 2025 and beyond hiring, it's not what we're doing right now, which is the masses. And please see me. It's just like, no, we can be more intentional.
That's the number one thing I found. I actually looked up an audience poll, and what I found so interesting was the question around, is AI going to take my job? And is it even important for me as a job seeker? And is it important for me as a job giver? And I'd love you to kind of double click on that if you would, because I think so often right now, the mindset around hiring is actually that there isn't any hiring going on. And I know you schooled me about this in our first conversations. And I loved that, because I really was thinking I'm operationally efficient minded always. And you really gave me a different school of thought. And that is the number one question that job seekers have right now. And I'd love you to just give us a little insight on that with your expertise.
Yeah, there's a lot of hiring going on. Actually, I think the problem is there's a lot of backdoor hiring going on, because companies do not want to be throwing, posts on these massive job platforms, and in 7 hours, you're getting over 1,000 resumes. Who's paying somebody a good salary to sit behind a computer and filter through 700 people, thousands of people, to maybe find those diamonds in the rough, where, I just feel like the way that we are seeing technology evolve is great. It should work for us, but I truly believe, need to always be humans behind that, navigating that tech. And listen, we've evolved. Remember VCRs? And then we were in DVD players, and everyone's like, what's this? And then, then we're on to the next. It's like even POS systems and retail companies, all that. If you want to evolve, you have to embrace technology. But I think as it applies to the hiring process, sure, I think it can help streamline efficiencies and some admin things. But please, let's not have AI chatbots talking for ourselves and to each other to try to broker a hiring process. At the end of the day, you are hiring a human in your business. And I think the problem is, going back to the systems, is that people are exhausted, people are overwhelmed, people are getting infiltrated with emails, and they just don't know how to navigate. So they're kind of grasping at this like low hanging fruit of like, okay,
Yeah.
these 5 resumes look great, but like how terrible is it for people that are actually so super qualified that either you have to know somebody and someone's giving you a warm intro and letting you in the back door hiring that goes on, or you're looking at these massive job boards and you're like, okay, I'm not even going to apply.
That's right.
And actually, an HR person recently told me the other day, I think people are lazy. I'm like, no, they're not lazy. People have been burned. They've been schooled. They've been burned by companies. They've been ghosted. They have been burned by recruiting agencies, not me. But I think that it's just like, we're all tired. And they're just really, I think there's a lot of things technology can do, but I also feel like we need to make sure we're embracing the human process in this because we are hiring humans in our business.
That's so true.
And we can't just let it all go to tech or we're in big trouble. I'm sorry. If a robot's hiring me for my next job, I'm
Could you
gonna
imagine?
question that.
There's so much to what
Yeah.
you're saying. I
Yeah.
see in my personal and my professional background, which is this idea of balance. Like, yes, I love the use of artificial intelligence for the right needs.
Yeah.
But what concerns me, and where I'd love to loop Lisa into this, is this idea that there's not a need for humans in the world that we're headed in. And I think the smarter humans know that they're going to need people to use this AI well.
Yes.
Great AI. I actually started in the industry on the Google Translate side, so 2013, 2012.
Yeah.
And what we often found is that back then it was like, if this, then that, by the way. It was like not agentic or generative AI, but the idea of it was that there needed to be a human, actually a behavioral scientist, that was kind of really thinking through what would the prompts be and what would the next response to the prompts is, essentially pattern recognition. So can you tell us a little bit about what you've built with Consi? You spent $500,000 of your own money to build
and
this.
counting.
And counting. Da-ding, there's another one.
Does anyone need an internal organ?
Truly. So, I mean,
Yeah,
Lisa has
yeah.
raised, I don't know that I've even explained this to you. It's a good time to explain it.
Mhm.
Lisa has raised just under 100 million in venture capital when she exited her company,
Yeah.
Little Spoon. She did so successfully. So I really wanted to get you two connected and to get some feedback from her, because she's truly an expert at what you're trying to do. Take on
Mhm.
investors, take this thing to the moon, and then ethically be able to move on to your next step. So can you just break it down for Lisa and for everyone watching and tell us exactly what Consi does?
Yeah, so Consi is a play on concierge. So think white glove, luxury service baked into a recruiting tech platform mixed with AI and a human touch, of course. So from job description to job offer, Consi is working with companies, and truly we're starting within luxury, wellness, beauty, lifestyle brands, all my low-hanging fruit clients that are like, we can't really afford to pay for agencies anymore. We're using 7 different tech stacks and we're still not getting results, and we don't want to deal with masses. And companies today on record are spending anywhere from $100,000 to $600,000 per hire.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a lot of money. Imagine if we could save that on a P&L, how that could be reinvested in the business. Talent is one of the biggest assets in your business, and it's the most expensive when the hiring process is managed incorrectly and you're bringing the wrong people into your business. That's a whole other double the expense of that person's like salary. So for Consi, what we're trying to do is marry these tech stacks. So think, DocSend, bits of LinkedIn, Upwork, Fiverr, where you can create job descriptions, you're creating job recs, you're assigning the individuals who are a part of these hiring process seats in Consi, so that we can be proactive in saying there's 5 steps in this process. These are all the people involved. We need to get companies more organized and have a clearer view of what that process needs to look like, because what's happening is candidates will interview. It's happened to me all the time. We'll have good momentum for 2 weeks. Then people go dark for 3. And I'm like, time kills all deals. If anyone thinks that candidates are waiting around, they're not. I'm sorry. Even with the biggest brands that people have stars in their eyes, it's like, you have to make a decision. And why is it so hard to make a decision? There's too many cooks in the kitchen. There's a lack of clarity and alignment internally of what this job does, what it delivers, and sometimes who the right fit is.
Yes, say that.
So we are really trying to clean it up and turn concierge. We're like delivering this platform where companies, I'm very hopeful, will come on, and the team's going to be really excited to use this platform, because when you're thinking about hiring and recruiting, you're thinking about Consi. Messaging, scheduling, AI, job creation profiles. We're teaching the computer how to be your brand voice and attract and match with the right talent, not taking a job description and flipping it in ChatGPT and throwing it out there like everybody else does. It's so generic. And I think that's why people are losing out on matching with great talent, because there's a lot of generic voice out there as it applies to job descriptions. I feel like they all read the same. So we're going to save time, money, and resources with end-to-end support. I mean, it's like a little Megan digital twin, literally 25 years of my life's work uploaded into this system where people, have paid me lots of money, as we've known, to really help navigate the process. And then on the other side of it, the biggest white space is the candidates. Like, we are creating a private vetted career community. Yes, people sign up. That is going to allow actual real people into this community who are serious about their jobs, who want career support. We have an API plugin where we're going to be working with a coaching app to be able to give people resources, whether you're maybe considering a career move or in a sense where you need some clarity. You're going to come on the platform. You're going to build the most amazing digital profile. We actually are incorporating a video element to everybody's profile, almost like an intro, where somebody gets matched with you on the client side. They can click on your profile, and you know what that's called? A vibe check. Chemistry check, a soft skills check. When people see resumes, and I've heard it 75 times today, oh, this person looks perfect on paper. I'm like, trust me, you're not going to hire them, but please, Megan. Okay, fine. The trust me coin. I would have already raised my seat if I'd saved all the money for the trust me coin jar. I'm like, you're not going to meet this person. They meet them, be like, oh my God, they're terrible for this team. I'm like, I told you, and I think like that's so missing right now in the hiring process, is people screaming to be seen, not being able to be seen. And also they're like, well, do I just start sending videos to people? And when you kind of get like a rogue video out of nowhere, it's like a little jarring in this day and age. You're like, who's spamming me today? But I think that in a platform where we can train professionals how to talk about themselves with confidence and actually be matched with jobs. We're not applying. We're not spraying and praying. I know it sounds nuts. Spray and pray is when you're like, let me send my resume out to 55 jobs and see what happens. And it's like, no, do you enjoy being rage rejected? And I'm just like, everybody know. And that's one of the biggest things I get when people call in and coach with me. They're like, oh my God, Megan, I applied to 15 jobs today. Why? Do you think you are a fit for all those 15 jobs? And, I think if we can get people feeling safe, seen, and actually create a community where they're supported. And there's so many things beyond the MVP. I mean, I have Google's list for days and my CTO wants to kill me, but I'm just like, we need to add all these things in as we build this, as we get funded, because, with money, we'll get there faster. But, I think it's so important, and I'm ready to disrupt an industry that hasn't been done so in decades.
Yes.
Decades.
Is she not on fire?
You are on fire. I can tell you're in sell mode, going to these clients, everything. I love it.
Clients, pitching. But at the end of the day, I feel like we've talked about this. It's like you talk about hiring and people are really like, yeah, hiring. Or people like glaze over and they go to like another universe and they're like, ugh, hiring. I'm like,
PTSD.
It's not like a sexy beauty product. It's not going to make you look 20 years younger, but it will make, put 20 years back in your life about not stressing about your team and bad hires. So there you go. And I'm going to save you $20 million. But, I think that it's something where you either get it or you don't. People need to get it. In order to build businesses, in order to raise capital, in order to get evaluations, you need to have people on your team that are driving that.
That's right.
And there needs to be a better way to find those people and connect them with better resources. And here we are. Honestly, welcome to Consi, the future of hiring.
Such conviction. I think one of the things I always look for in a founder, whether I'm advising or collaborating with in any way, or of course investing in, is someone who not just knows their stuff, but they are just so passionate. The whole energy, we are filming live and the whole energy in the room just went up an octave when Megan started sharing about Consi. And this is the whole point of this. Like, this isn't about talking to sharks and having them put you down. It's about elevating you and giving you empowerment to share your story and to get more people aware of this amazing, almost like a marketplace. I mean, I think of it as you eating LinkedIn's lunch. And since we're live on LinkedIn, I can say that.
Hey, we could be a concierge acquisition of LinkedIn, where I think there are platforms that are far beyond being able to build something like this. And quite frankly, the moat in defensibility and all of this of like, well, LinkedIn could do this. I'm like, yeah, but LinkedIn's not me. LinkedIn doesn't have 25 years of experience behind the scenes. And sure, I think people probably have great experience hiring, but for literally 14 years, I've been in the trenches through global economic changes, COVID, everything, 2025, I just every day, and seeing so many issues and having a lot of success. I mean, I have almost a 97% retention rate.
Wow.
For the thousands of people I've placed over 14 years, that's pretty high. That means people last well beyond the guarantee. And they actually, create succession within organizations or go on to take bigger roles. So that means a lot. If you're investing in a recruiter that are bringing you top talent, you better hope that person stays. You're paying that recruiter a lot of money. So to be able to see that and just, I don't know, it's just in my soul. It's innate. I've been in service of individuals my whole life.
Yeah.
And I feel like I never had mentors growing up. I kind of fought my way through the retail and luxury retail space. And it's like, well, I want to be that for people. And I, truly, again, want to see companies thrive. Because every time I'm out there as a retail girl, I'm like, when people are out shopping, I was walking through, so I'm like, yes, keep shopping, everybody. The economy, it's like my business is so directly tied to that. So it's just real important for me, to be able to share that and for people to get behind it. So
I think taking on a bigger competitor is something we have an expert in, right? Like, would you say that with your experience with Little Spoon, did you guys have an ideal client that you took market share from a larger company? I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, because with Megan, I think one of the hardest things as she's pitching is to show the big dream and the big TAM, but also to get maybe venture capitalists or outside investors and angel investors to really understand the vision at beta, right? As she's starting.
Well, actually, to kind of answer your question, but I think very tangible feedback, like when you're pitching, analogies work really well. So like and this whole time listening to you, I keep thinking about the dating space and how, we started like a great comp. We started from, I don't know everything, but like, the websites where it was like, kind of, high touch and personal, like what you're building. Then we went to like the quick volume game, which is maybe where we're at with recruiting now. I'm not an expert in the recruiting space. I haven't diligenced it, but like, and now it's like, okay, we're pulling back and we're saying we need more of that higher touch angle, but we have the technology to kind of make that scalable. And so I think you might be doing this already, but my initial piece of feedback and reaction and food for thought is like, figure out some of those industries that have gotten there already that are parallel to your industry to help investors see that opportunity and see the progression.
I love that.
I think that's a really interesting way to do it. And I think the whole David Goliath thing, I mean, that is a tale as old as times. It's not, in my body of experience being in venture capital and now like seeing so many businesses, all of them. And I think building a great brand, you're not building a consumer product, which is my background, but like, it's all about saying like, who is that quote unquote enemy, right? And so just helping to give people an understanding of where you're going to take that market share and everything like that. That's what I've seen, the best pitches as well as the best, founders who I think are going to market effectively, are kind of tapping into some of those pain points that maybe incumbents haven't been able to solve yet, or, don't need to solve because that's not their stated objective.
I love that. Almost, I hear this a lot when I'm seeing businesses for investment where they'll say, we're the Uber of, or the Google of, and it does instantly give you a mindset as to what they're referencing and creates almost a sense of like shared understanding immediately. Even if I don't understand the niche, because I'm platform agnostic. So while I love fitness, beauty, health, and wellness and the future of work and money, I still love to hear what other niches are doing. And I think that's such good advice, because it's really hard when you're first to market and then you're taking on a bigger entity. You really need to give them the foe, and you need to tell them exactly what this sounds and looks like so they can find that synergy in their own investment thesis.
Exactly. And I also think if you're going after certain types of investors who are looking for potentially a big outcome and maybe giving them, this is just like simple comps, right? And it's like, okay, why is my industry similar to some other industries that have seen some success from a returns perspective for their, for privately held companies and things like that. So it's kind of a dual purpose. It helps explain as well as help paint a picture of what could happen.
That's actually great advice because you have been boots on the ground for quite some time, launching Consi and getting LOIs
Yeah.
and really generating interest in really unique ways. We actually met through Create and Cultivate, who I'm an investor of, and I love that group. And it's just been so great to see you kind of work every room and every opportunity. But Lisa makes an interesting point with institutional. They're going to want to see kind of a really buttoned up idea of where are you headed, where are you going, particularly being pre-revenue. So we've talked a little bit about the idea of maybe running a special purpose vehicle so she can kind of create that as almost a first to market idea. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I think it could be really interesting because one of the elements of an SPV is like you have a handful, many people involved. And I think for businesses that are intentional and can take advantage of those relationships, and that's really on the onus of the founder to like leverage those relationships and access, you can spread your word faster. Like for you, it's like introductions to potential clients. I mean, I don't know exactly how the business model is working, but it's a bit of a marketplace, I imagine, right? So it's like also just getting the word out from a consumer applicant perspective, but it's all of those things. So I think that's actually really interesting. And, that gives you a potential pool of capital that is potentially well aligned with how you want to build your business.
I'm having this thought as we're talking about this, like talk about an interesting way to kind of fund and grow the business. If you're already running a double-sided marketplace, that means you have interest on both sides, right? Accredited investors that maybe are looking for jobs, or high net worth individuals who have kind of highly funded jobs. And then of course, there's the employers that may also want to have a piece of the pie. I actually recently found out, I'm sure you knew, Whole Foods has a fund, for instance, where they invest in businesses, that they have these kind of ways of partnering that go beyond just come into our doors and we'll set you up, but also they'll take on equity and kind of give you revenue that way. So one of the things I think about a lot is how to grow and take on investment has so many different ways to do so. And one of my favorite finds recently as a founder and an investor is a platform called Play Money. I'd love to call the founder of Play Money. Her name is Cheryl, and get some insights from her. I think she may give us some thoughts on whether or not that's the right fit for you right now, the benefits of an SPV, a special purpose vehicle, which is essentially one line on the cap table, which is where all the owner structure is. And then also just give us some insight on the investment landscape right now and what she's seeing with micro deals. So we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, Cheryl will join us. All right, welcome back. Cheryl, can you hear me?
Hey there, how are you?
Oh my gosh, I'm so glad to hear your voice. I want to welcome everyone back and introduce one of our experts. This is Cheryl Kellen. She is the founder of Play Money, one of my favorite finds as an investor and as an existing entrepreneur. And Cheryl, just to welcome you into the room with Lisa and with Megan, I'd love for you to just tell everyone a little bit about Play Money, why you created this amazing platform, and your passion for democratizing access, because I think it'll be really relevant for all of us.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So you can think of Play Money as Instagram for angel investing, for private market investing. It makes investing feel a lot like social shopping. And the reason we built it is we saw so many new investors want to get into this private market startup asset class, partially because it's a place to build wealth if you do it correctly, but it's also a place of tremendous impact. I always say first check calls game. If you write that first check, you get to decide what problems get solved and who get to solve them. So we built that platform to make it easy for more new investors to come online. What we saw in the market was money is not always the constraint on investing. It's actually time. And a lot of people with a tremendous amount of insight on the problems that needed to be solved and expertise to help founders make it happen were being left on the sidelines because they couldn't make investing a full-time job. They had their own jobs, They have families, they have hobbies. So we made
we
it
talked
a little
about
more
this today, actually.
Yeah, did you? Oh, I'm sorry, I missed that part of the conversation.
It's truly a full-time job in addition to the
It
full-time
is.
job, just raising money.
It is. So we've made it easy enough that you can do it, in line for school pickup, waiting for your flight at the airport. And we're mobilizing millions of capital behind really great, highly curated and highly vetted startup investing opportunities because we've made the process simpler.
I mean, I can really attest to that. I'm a many times over investor, and using Play Money was, I mean this in the best way, stupid easy. And it's so cool to see all the education that was behind the platform.
Yep.
And there are things that I still needed to, touch up my knowledge on. I feel like that's always the case in the venture world. And just kind of better understanding like the benefits, the highs and the lows of startup investing, and really understanding like what games I wanted to invest in, so to speak, like you say, and what checks were really going to be meaningful. And there's just something really unique about the curation on the platform. As I'm introducing you to Megan and kind of introducing you formally for the first time to her business called Consi, I'd love to know a little bit about how you curate the deals that come onto the platform. For your knowledge, Megan has been really thinking about an SPV as maybe one path to her fundraising journey. She has amazing letters of intent, which I'd love you to share, and a really interesting founder conviction. I mean, one of the best I've ever seen. And I talked to you, and I know you've seen some good ones too.
I have.
So can you tell us a little bit about how you curate for the platform? And then I want to give Megan a chance to share about her amazing opportunity.
Yeah. So there's a few different ways founders use the platform. I heard you and Lisa before talking about SPVs, special purpose vehicles. So we're a platform for SPVs. And we have a lot of founders use the platform in their earliest days of fundraising. The most important characteristic on an early stage company, and everyone talks about this all the time, is the quality of the team. Well, do you know who knows the quality of the team the best? The team's own network. Their friends, their families, their colleagues, their professional connections. We all have these really rich networks of people that think we're just the bomb and would absolutely bet on us. And so what usually happens on Play Money is founders start out with that group of people. We've made the investing experience so easy, and we've lowered the minimums, $500, $1,000, so that lots of people can participate. And we give the founders a link and a tool to bring their own networks in. Now, once we see their own networks supporting their deal, and maybe, a lot of them come with a deal lead or some kind of early stage professional investor that's done that like good hygiene diligence, make sure it's incorporated right, make sure the cap table looks good. Once a founder has those two things going from them, and we think their deal is a match with the interests of the people already on the platform, we'll share their deal out to our big community of investors. And typically, I mean, we've been seeing lately, like we can double or triple what a founder brings in on their own.
Wow, you
because
can
we've
double or
nurtured this
triple what a founder
community.
brings in on their own. That's
We've
huge.
nurtured this great community of angel investors through education and showing them one deal, one highly curated deal a week on Thursdays. Deal drops on Thursdays, right? So they get the reps in, they get the practice in, they get a sense of what they like.
Wow.
And so, yeah,
That's
increasingly
interesting.
we're
We
moving
talked about
big
something very
money.
interesting that I think would relate to this as well, which is the importance of the
Mhm.
team. We actually had a whole conversation around 25 years of Megan's experience and having such
Mhm.
tremendous conviction about the importance of the human in AI,
Mhm.
and the importance of leveraging technology and the human, with what she's building
Mhm.
with Consi. So that's a very interesting niche that Play Money has played into yourself as a platform. I'd love to hear the other side. So as an investor, I had a really interesting start with Play Money, but I'd love for you to share on the funder side what it feels like and looks like for them, since you are also a double-sided marketplace. What a great peer for
Yes.
you.
When you sign up, it takes less than 2 minutes to sign up. You need to be an accredited investor, which means you need to meet certain income or net worth qualifications. We do that through self-attestation. So people tell us they are accredited and we say, that's great. We believe you. Come have fun. And then we wrap them in education appropriate to where they are as an investor. Have they made 0 investments before, or are they on the VC track and have made dozens of investments? So we craft snack size education for them as they go through the investing journey. But then every week we drop a new highly curated deal that's matched to their interests. So truly think like Instagram like experience. Show me the perfect deal for me at the right time. And instead of just giving them lots of words or data to go through,
Right.
we've given them short form video of the founder pitching, of us asking deep dive questions of that founder that an experienced angel would ask. You see points of view from other people that have invested. You see all the investment terms. And I don't know if you've seen it. We just connected it with your little AI investing pal. So you can ask questions of the deal. If
I've
you
talked to
forgot
Casey.
something or cared about something in the deal that you didn't see in the video. And the questions that aren't answered in the deal memo, we take back to the founder. So you can get real-time responses from the founder as well in order to make your investing decision. So it's fun. We've got
That's
a
so
lot of
cool.
people that like check in on Thursday nights, on their way to the flight or at soccer practice,
Yep.
for the kids. It's
Yeah,
pretty fun to see.
funny. We didn't even mean to do this, Cheryl, but Lisa was just giving this amazing example of how to pitch and like using something that people already know. And of course, you came out and was like, "We're basically how Instagram and AngelList come together." I'm like, "What an amazing way to pitch!" I mean, right from the experts themselves. So this is so cool. Thank you for sharing a little bit about the platform. I'd love to give Megan a chance to tell you a little bit about her early traction, and give you an idea of what Consi is really building, and that way we can get your feedback on whether or not you think an SPV would be a good fit on Play Money.
Perfect.
Yeah, well, taking a page out of Lisa's book. So we are the Raya for hiring.
Ooh.
So, and I've said that
I know what that
before,
means. That was
I
good. I
telling
know what
Lisa,
that means.
we had somebody actually that was like a first hire for Raya in a pitch dinner in LA.
Wow.
And that was said twice. One, like the Raya for like content creators. And then I came in for the Raya for hiring, and then he like rolled his eyes.
Wow.
And I'm like, okay, maybe it's somebody else. But basically, I've had multi-decade career within hiring and recruiting for top tier luxury fashion brands for the past 14 years manually as an executive recruiter within my own agency, managing, a very smooth and streamlined process, but with limited resources. I do run a multi-million-dollar agency. The beauty about Consi, which is an end-to-end marketplace for companies to post jobs, be able to get matched with candidates in a private vetted community, which right now really doesn't exist. Right now, we're dealing with the masses out there. And from manager to C-suite, a lot of those individuals that I work across huge global brands, L'Oreal, Estee, LVMH, a senior director is not like, let me go apply on LinkedIn. They want to be seen, they want to be valued. And there's this massive white space there. So within that, I already have clients that I am already working with. We're ready to flip to the platform. So that's amazing. There's already revenue. So you can say pre-revenue, but once we really flip that switch on for Consi, we're actually already making money. And then on the other side of it, I have spent a full year pitching this out to clients that unfortunately at times don't always have the budget to work with me. As an agency, I'm 22 to 25% of one base salary. So with that, here's this opportunity, which we're really close to baking in about 30 LOIs, which is over $500,000 on the client side, with a wait list of our network in my agency of over 50,000 professionals. So this is no joke. And I mean, the organic reach that I have from being very visible in the media, within my community, which is why I put myself into rooms. Visibility is currency these days as well. I think the credibility and the opportunity to make money and make money quickly is certainly there, and it already is existing, but we cannot wait to turn on the switch. But with that, and I think to get there faster, for the amount of money I invested myself in this and for the early angels, amazing. But as you know, KK, if you can really understand anything about me, I mean, I truly just want everyone to win who's behind me. And I think within SPVs are so interesting and multiple conversations is because what I will tell anybody is start raising before you need to raise and even have a pitch deck. It takes a good, 18 to 36 months. And I've done, a good job getting angels and friends and family that have known I've been building this for 2 years. They're like, here you go, very quickly. Then it's been tapping into this marketplace that maybe hasn't known me, sort of knows me, is getting behind the deal, what I'm building, and they're very excited, but that takes time to cultivate relationships. So it's going to give you $100 to $500K check. That doesn't just happen overnight. And there is a huge pool of the most incredible accredited female investors that are my friends that don't sometimes have that minimum check size, that can't write a 50K check right now. But they're like, Megan, we want to end, how can we support you? And I think in an SPV, I've been really thinking about how can I get the people that have gotten me to where I am today involved in something so special that I know is going to be so incredible, and open a vehicle like that for them to be able to invest in me in the future of hiring. So I've been really thinking about it.
We've had multiple.
So I feel like I'm sold on this.
We certainly have multiple.
I want my friends to win,
And it's such a cool way to bring everyone on the story with you and take them on the way up. So from this perspective, actually, I love that we shifted from pre-revenue to early revenue, honey.
I mean, I'm just saying.
That's better. And so I'm curious, Cheryl, your thoughts, if you could share with us a little of your insight. How does being early revenue help or hurt an SPV raise? And especially if potentially institutional funding will be needed after. I'd love to get your thoughts on that, and also Lisa's.
So if you're raising from people so they are going to primarily be investing in what you do, the magic of you, and they know you will win.
They're going to believe in her.
Yep. But showing that early revenue, it's a way of saying you mean business. You are actually executing on it now. And part of the reason, angels come in early to a deal is not just because they believe in you and you're going to make them wealth, but they want to go along on that journey. So you've got storytelling fodder there as you roll out the product and as you learn and as you adjust things. And obviously revenue is a part of that because it shows it's real.
Revenue matters.
But it also is the story fodder for the journey. Now, when you take that base of people who know you directly and then try to go to a broader group of angels, that revenue matters more because, again, it's a proof point that you can execute. And it's a proof point that you're making progress and learning.
So by building her network up in the platform, it actually makes it even easier for the Play Money to community to see the traction and really get you along for the journey as well. That's interesting because I know Cheryl has taught me this. Rule number one of any sort of startup investing is always back your besties. Am I right?
Number one rule. Yep.
I'm here for that. I mean, do you know how desperately I want to start investing in other people? That's right now I have $4.
Dollar sign just went down one. We're out of three, people. We're out of three.
Because everyone, I love getting people really excited about the topic of hiring, but I think it is so powerful. I just want to do good. And I think that more women with money and access to money to be able to do that in the world is we need more of that. We need more of that. And for me, I understand revenue gets you there faster and more strategically. And I've spent the sleepless nights and we figured it out in terms of how we're going to pay that big tech, payment that comes through monthly to get the product in there. But I think my besties who I know Believe in Me, but just had a baby or just bought a house,
Yeah.
or money is tied up in other ways. Like, I think it's so interesting. And there's honestly been a lot of interest of like,
bet.
Megan, are you going to build an SPV?
Yeah.
Can you? I was like, okay, I think I might.
Totally.
Yeah,
And then also
no.
be able to give this deal flow to other like really amazing humans out there that love investing in the future of work,
That's
or
right.
female founders with a story like mine that's solving a problem for something I've been in for decades.
Yeah.
And
And that could be
a
interesting.
little
too.
disruptor, you
I
know?
know.
So
Cheryl, I know you had something you
Yeah.
wanted to share.
No, it sounds like she had has a perfect market for something like not just an SPV, but I'm going to go to the next level and say a play money type of SPV.
Yeah, you are. You're a perfect play money SPV.
Oh,
I see
thank
this
you.
as a deal that could really, I mean, I'm on the platform. So
I
I'm
mean,
actively
let's
investing
go.
on play money. So, I mean, when I tell you
Yeah.
truly like pulling an SPV together for you is not only going to be synergistic, I think it's going to be such a fun proof of concept along with those amazing LOIs.
Yeah.
So I'd love to kind of lead the conversation with connecting you two.
Yeah.
And maybe coming onto a call and seeing if I can advise through the SPV process with your lawyer, because
Yeah,
that'll be
sure.
helpful.
Yeah.
We're so grateful, Cheryl, that you were here today to tell us about Play Money, to truly give the opportunity for both founders and funders to understand, I think, the special sauce of startup investing. Before we go, Lisa, I'd love to give your kind of layer and flair on this particular opportunity, especially as someone who's raised a lot of venture and done a lot of things as an investor as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think like Play Money, and KK introduced me to Play Money, so I hadn't, had any exposure to that. But I think like what I've always thought about SPVs, similar to, we had an era where crowdfunding was really popular too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's a version of that. It has some of the same best qualities of that, which
Yeah.
is like getting a lot of people
Mhm.
who maybe otherwise couldn't be involved in the business to be behind you, which gives you just more reach. Like think of those people as another customer set or
Yeah.
stakeholder set that can help leapfrog your company from point A to maybe point C, right?
Yeah.
So that's how I see
such
it.
a great
Yeah.
point. I'll leave you with this, Cheryl, because this is such a great point that Lisa makes. When I first learned about Play Money, my first gut reaction was actually like an SPV, like I'm a professional investor. And actually, Play Money sold me on the concept of an SPV because going through the platform, I found I was still learning. 20 years of investing and I'm still learning. I'm still hovering on the platform to see what that word is that I haven't brushed up in a while. And then also the deals are top notch. So when I think about a Consi getting on there, when I tell you I see the deals come up that really got me excited, Liquid Death was one of them.
Oh, yeah.
And then secondly, the investors are phenomenal. I'll never forget some of the Ask Me Anything calls that I've been on as an investor listening to a deal and hearing these other investors' backgrounds. I felt small. There was this one guy who was just like so amazing in his day job and he startup invests for fun. He truly loves being an angel, but he has a whole other zone of genius in the medical industry. So there's something really cool about getting you two together, figuring out how we can get this off the ground. And I'm so grateful, Cheryl, for you to call in from Colorado today. I look forward to following up with you really soon. Thanks again.
Thanks for having me. Bye, guys.
Yeah. We'll take just a few minutes and send Megan on her way and introduce you to a new founder friend. See you soon. That's what I told her. I'm like, "Girl, are you taking it off or am I pulling mine out?"
No, I was just hot
It
when I ran
is
here.
such a treat to wear. Even welcome back. We're joined by Mary, the founder of Reprise Activewear. Welcome. Reprise is a Lululemon competitor that's prioritizing alternative ways to grow and offer sustainable products. Mary, welcome.
Thank you.
Can you tell us a little bit about Reprise?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. I started the brand in 2018 after I had this really this light bulb moment where I was cleaning out all my clothes. I had just moved into a new apartment in New York, and it was a much smaller apartment and a smaller closet. And I thought of reselling a lot of my clothing, and I was going through and listing a bunch of what it was made out of. And I learned that all of my entire closet was made with polyester. And at the time, I didn't have a background in fashion, and I didn't know what that was, but I decided to Google it. And when I Googled it, I just was really shocked to find that my entire closet was made with plastic. And I felt like at a time where I'm, investing in eating healthier and clean beauty and cleaning supplies, I just felt like, mostly originally from an environmental perspective of, wow, with the plastics and learning where that's coming from, the supply chain, and then also the environmental impact of washing plastic fabrics and microplastics. And then it's been really interesting to see, especially in the last 2 years, not only still an environmental concern, but a health concern as well of wearing plastic fabrics, both the microplastic shedding into our bodies and then the chemical component with BPA. So Reprise is all non-toxic. We use Tencel, which is a tree-based fiber. It's a little bit softer and more performance forward, I've found, than an organic cotton. Still a natural fiber. It comes from eucalyptus trees. And we get certifications to prove it's all non-toxic, super clean, super breathable, and really great activewear to try to combat the like over 90% of the activewear market today is polyester and nylon, which are those plastic and synthetics.
And yeah, my thought process about Reprise, so Mary and I first met, she was considering investment. And I think one of the coolest things we did is we decided that she did not need dilutive funding. And I came on board instead as a consultant, and she's on our Ghost Democracy Marketplace as a partner. And then we have like a rev share. So we really have been creative with how we share resources and work together. And we're just at the beginning phases of that. But I remember saying to you, my problem is I am a sweaty Betty. Like I am a girl that needs to get her workout in and I need to work hard. And I remember when you first sent me samples of the product, I was so impressed. We actually have a sample here. I brought that for you, Lisa, so you can feel it and touch it and really get an idea of what is so premium about this product, while at a parity of price with Lululemon, which I also thought was just amazing that you're able to do that, and as nimble as small as you are. But also, so people can understand, like if you've ever kind of gotten into the natural fiber market or natural foods or even natural products, sometimes there's like an issue with efficacy. It's like not as good, right? Like the leggings sag after a couple of washes or something like that. And so I had very low expectations when I first tried your products, and it really has blown me away. The ability to wear plants and feel good, but also get the performance has been a game changer. I literally took this off earlier so that we could have it here as a prop. So when I say I love it, I really do.
Thank you.
It's been really cool to see how you're building this. I want you to take a second and just brag a little bit about what's been going on with Reprise. You quit your job about a month ago.
Yeah.
And really went all in on this business very recently. And you're starting to see some really early signals, which is exciting. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's been a pretty incredible year. And one of those cool moments where launching it 8 years ago, I think when I started it, you think, oh, I'm going to build this business and it's going to overnight, I'm going to quit my job. And that was sort of the original plan for year one. And, so many things happened. I think we were a little early in the idea. When I would go to trade shows and pop-ups and talk about it, people I would be like, it's made from plants. And people were like, you can make clothing from plants. And they had no idea. And that just shows how disconnected we were from the supply chain. Cotton's existed for, thousands of years. And so that was it took a lot of time to really communicate the product and for the market to shift. But in the last year, we've had, just huge success. We surpassed all of last year's revenue in like August. We're really close to doubling it. And then, as we head into the holidays, I'm fairly confident we'll hit that. October was 4 times October of last year. So, and this is honestly mostly all organic. We don't really spend on ads. It's just really happy customers and great word of mouth. Some really great affiliate partners who help share the story and talk about sort of why non-toxic matters. And yeah, I was working another job at an ad agency for the entire time, those 8 years building it, and just felt like, the business is taking off and I really need to sort of be full time. So it was a scary leap, but it's been so great too. We actually last month, got our first wholesale order at a boutique in Palm Springs. So with the new time being able to travel and things, it's been a really exciting time. So I'm excited and optimistic heading into the holiday time and a big year, hopefully next year.
Yeah.
That's incrable.
Thank you.
Congratulations on all the
Thank you.
progress and the leap that you just took to
Thank
go
you.
in full time. I'm going to start just like basic questions. I think for everyone and also for myself. So if you're kind of communicating to your customer what you're like really stand for, what are those like 3 attributes and things that are really like, this is what you're hanging your hat on, this is our philosophy?
Yeah, the biggest thing is the materials. So the material innovation has always been and I'm so happy that you love the fabric, because that's been something that we worked really hard to develop. And it was always something that we had to make from scratch from the beginning because it didn't exist. And I was really, really, I think it helped to be a bit naive when I started the business, because I was really set on making it as clean and as sustainable as possible. And so I knew that I wanted to work with Tencel because of the sustainability requirements, less water than cotton. Tencel carries a lot of the Ecotech certification, which is the highest degree of standard for fabrics on skin. And then I would say like the fabric is the first one, is really making sure it's like super clean, non-toxic, but also really comfortable. And then I would say also, transparency. I feel like we've always shared a ton about not only just the fabrics, but where we make our clothes. We publish our factory on our website. I got to go in June and meet them, and they were lovely. It's in Portugal. So just being really transparent about sort of working as a small business, who we're working with, where it's coming from. And then I'm trying to think of what the third one, I would say.
3 was a random number, to be honest.
Yeah.
So it could be whatever you want. You don't.
The last one I would say is just really great service. I'm super passionate about the business.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have hung in there for 8 years if I wasn't really, really passionate about the mission. And I still do all the customer service. That's one thing I really don't want to outsource until I can't, because I love communicating with people. I love people who let me know they've been looking for the product and they find it. Even just like, hey, I had this issue, we're right there like right away to answer. And that's something that's been really important to me. Just make people feel really like heard. And I think that helps with the feeling like a safer product, and you can trust it because there's someone like human behind the brand.
That's amazing. It's such a telling answer. I like to ask that question, especially because, I'm newer to the business too. I'm learning, but also because it shows, one, what you're hoping to communicate with your brand, and is that getting communicated, and 2, how you really think about, what the DNA of your company is in your brand and that fabric. And since you are really speaking to a real pain point that I agree, I'm on this end of like the newer consumer that's starting to pay attention to this. It's like I go through all this effort to remove plastics in my daily life. And guess the one thing I don't do?
Of course.
My sweaty workout clothes that are touching you everywhere, that have toxic, that are not good for you to be absorbing. So I think it's really incredible what you're doing. Now, everything you're telling me, the way you're handling customer service, the way, your growth 4x year over year has been organic, suggests to me you have true brand love and brand affinity, and like people who keep coming back for more. How are you thinking about that as potentially an engine for future growth? Like, how do you then get yourself from wherever you are today to like really multiples higher?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that, because it's something I've had a lot of fun thinking about for next year. So we have an affiliate program that we started, and that's been a really great way for people who already love the product. We have people asking all the time, customers. A lot of them are yoga teachers and Pilates instructors who are like, I love this, I share it with my students. Do you have a way for me to help share? And then what I'd really love to roll out next year is a way for people, what I've always loved is doing pop-ups. People want to feel the fabric. Please, if you want to feel the sample, the fabric is like our bread and butter. And people really want to experience the brand. I think it's great to sell online, but it's so hard to describe that online. And so I see a really cool way for people to be able to host local trunk shows, the brand supporters who've been with us for those 8 years, who continue to come back and who love the product. I think it is really great when you get to connect with someone who loves the brand, get to try it on. And then also when you're in those in-person environments, it's a really great time to learn about the fabrics and what it's doing and what the difference is. It's also really hard to communicate that on a website unless someone really wants to look for it and take the time, or on social media when sort of our attention spans are shorter.
Yep.
So I find those like in-person connections with being able to leverage sort of like an ambassador or affiliate program of people being able to like share this across the country. And we ship a lot to Europe as well. So sort of expanding internationally, but really getting a chance to build that community.
No, that's excellent. That's really excellent. I think the community part of it's huge, and you have an opportunity because your initial customer base are people who like found you and came to you. So clearly there's this shared prevalent pain point. That niche can really help, then hopefully broaden that out in the future.
Yeah, we called it almost like the Tupperware model. We're like just getting ladies together, getting people together, and getting them excited about. When I put my hand through those thumb holes, it was a religious experience. Only because sometimes thumb holes run a little short. I don't know if it's just me. I'm like not exactly fully dimensional. So like some parts of my body are longer than others. And when you put your hands through the thumb holes, they genuinely, I'm not just saying this, Mary, they stretch with me in a way that I have not found in any other premium product. That's crazy.
Really, really cool.
How amazing to be able to bring my friends over and then put that in front of them and tell them like, put your hand through the thummies. That's going to be so much fun.
Sharing a fun product, with other people, that's a product that you love, and really getting a chance to like have friends try it on and make it fun too. I feel like just a different way to shop. Online is easy and convenient, but I love shopping with friends and, just sharing products that you love in real life. I think people miss
What
that.
like moments do you think that people, you have this initial group of customers, they're the hungry ones. It's so important for a startup to find that initially. That's like a huge validation point if they keep coming back to purchase. Now for this next phase of customers, how do you think like they're going to discover you? Is it like what problems might be going on in their lives that cause them to be intentfully searching, or how are you going to go out and kind of proactively try to generate that next, layer of customer base?
The push and the pull.
Yeah.
Great question. I think there's two ways we'll approach it. The first is probably pertains to what we've talked a lot about is partnerships. That's the way we've always grown, but finding sort of partners that really help us scale in a meaningful way. So finding other brands, it's really a lifestyle. As you said, you've been, investing in clean eating, I know, for a very long time. And like the holistic lifestyle, it makes sense that natural fiber workout wear is next. So really finding, I think, other brands that fit well with that clean beauty. And so I think that's a great way to sort of introduce it as like a lifestyle shift. And then also it's interesting, we've actually seen a ton of like 20% of our business this year has been from organic search. And so I'm really kind of like leaning into that search and AI. We've seen actually some traffic starting to come from ChatGPT, which is really interesting. I think because there is that someone learns about it and they're like, oh, wow, I didn't know that my workout wear was plastic. You immediately go for whether you're Google search or ChatGPT or whatever tool you use and really start to learn more. So if it's not someone teaching it to you, it's you doing your own education. And so we have been trying to lean in a lot to just like showing up in those, whether it's blogging and creating articles, maybe starting to invest in search ads, but really looking at AI too and how you sort of show up in that new, that's a brand new category. So that's been kind of fun to learn to see how
that's something I'm excited to help you with too, with Shopify having a new integration coming. I've already had that on my signals, particularly for you because she saw such a huge uplift in search traffic. And then this big agentic change happened. And I feel like, wow, we're going to see even more because people go into AI, and I'm a prompt engineer, so I can truly tell you, they are asking the full question, the full, what we call in SEO, long tail keyword. So it's no longer just like cute activewear, yoga clothes. Now it's like, what are the yoga clothes that aren't going to leak plastics into my body? And they're going to ask that very directly. And so I've been really excited about the Shopify integration, being able to implement that for her because I think it'll be game changer.
Huge. And I think also like your opportunity, I can't think of a real brand that stands for this, right? So you have the opportunity to build that household name and really like own this segment of the market. I mean, your only other option you alluded to before is like wearing cotton, which isn't necessarily the technical fabric that you want when you're working out. So I think like that's a huge opportunity too. Do you see when you're kind of scaling, you have this partner in Portugal and everything, like, do you have capacity to continue scaling? How have you thought about, as you get bigger and bigger, maintaining the integrity of the product and hopefully continue to even make more innovation, because you've already taken so many steps and you're just getting started?
Yeah, that's a really great question. They definitely have the capacity to scale with us for a while. That's why it was really cool to go and see in person. And I mean, Portugal, the hospitality there was so amazing. I felt like they treated me like I was one of their VIP clients, and I'm probably on the smaller side, but really getting a chance to tour the facilities and hear about their capacity. So they definitely can be a partner with us for a while. We also toured a couple other factories in the same area. So if anything, if needed, we have someone local there who helps handle the business, and she's been in the garment business her whole entire life. Her dad was in it as well. So she's very trusted to know sort of where the good factories are, can be there in person to see anything and handle those relationships. And, if needed and we really need to scale to other places, there's other amazing places that can still be ethical and still be really high quality. And that's something that she could probably help us with as well. But I love working in Europe. The tariff thing has been a little bit of an issue this year, but I'm hopeful that it won't be permanent. And I really found that just like high quality knitwear, they're really investing a lot in Porto, and Portugal is where we're at. And they really have beautiful facilities. Everything is B Corp certified, so you can trust that it's using good ingredients. And just Europe has really high standards of, on their chemical regulation. So I feel safe with who we're working with, and hope that if we did expand, sort of that same high criteria for any other partners.
Incredible.
Thank you.
There was something that you kind of just asked about that made me think about a conversation Mary and I have had a lot, because the tariffs are so unknown, and this is 2025 as we're recording this, but in a year it may be higher, maybe lower, and we've thought a lot about maintaining quality while driving down unit economics. And I think one thing that's really exciting as a signal for you is that you've not exactly been ordering the most. And so it's been very like limited run, like very, very premium and feel, but also like, I love the idea of those like limited drops that you've been doing, but I imagine our unit economics could get better as we grow and have bigger order sizes. So that's one thing that her and I've talked about just a bit, but it always comes back up. It's like, where can we really drive margin without sacrificing, like you asked about, the most important thing, which is the product. This is a product-led company. Literally, it's sitting right there and I want to touch it because it feels so good. And I think leading with the product has led to repeat orders. Remember we looked at that recently?
Yeah.
Like the number of clients that have bought and bought again. That's a signal as an acquirer that I always look for in a business. And it's been really exciting to see, like, I mean, watch out. We're just getting
it feels fun to finally have that, sort of feels like that flywheel effect where you're like, for so long it really was like inch by inch, every pop-up, like lugging it around, every individual sale. And I loved it. You're learning at that point, and so all of it is exciting, but the growth part is really exciting too, to see sort of something you've wanted for a really long time really start to grow and take off.
It's incredible.
So
really
cool.
incredible.
I think Mary is a great example of a founder, and we talked about this earlier, who doesn't just have conviction and get it. She's actionable. She's thoughtful. She's proactive. She's not above doing the work of the business. It's actually, we met on Cherub actually, so interestingly. So shout out to the girls at Cherub. I think what Jacqueline and Angeline are building is so amazing. And I think my favorite deal that's ever come out of Cherub is actually not a traditional deal. It's meeting Mary, who with every conversation, if she didn't know something, she'd get back to me on time, with thought, with diligence, with, I don't know, this feeling of excitement about getting to that next step in her business. And so it's been really cool to highlight today a non-dilutive way to grow, where she's a founder with 100% of her business that's growing like crazy, and really looking forward to seeing more growth while keeping you in the driver's seat where you belong. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for letting me share my story, and for being here to ask great questions and letting me share more. It's really
Congratulations. I can't wait to wear the product and buy it.
It's going to be really fun. So we're going to take a quick break, but before we do, I want to wish Mary goodbye and wish her an amazing rest of her day. And also thank Lisa for being here. It has been awesome to have my advisor here, coaching and consulting and just advising in all the important ways, but also as an expert. I'm just so grateful for your candor and the way you brought yourself to the table today.
Well, thanks for having me. And thank you for being part of CBD Fast Track, where we had the opportunity to to connect and advise
So
and
cool.
coach together.
So cool. It's a great community. I highly recommend it. If you're CPG curious or a CPG founder, it may be the great first step that you need. So we'll take just a few minutes and we'll be right back. Well, I don't know about you, but I could use a dopamine hit. Our final founder today is a multi-passionate, multi-hyphen young woman. Janae is fantastic at running, I think, what would we say, the intersection of events, community, commerce, and wealth. And through two really amazing platforms, she's here sharing with us her dream and her passion that just launched. So welcome.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for having me, KK. I'm so excited that we get to collaborate and talk, and we've got so much more to, collaborate on. So I'm really excited to
Yeah.
start this year.
Talk about a real growth partnership. We met at a conference and really found an affinity for what you were doing. In my background on the home decor side, we own a virtual staging company. So I love the idea of dopamine infused home decor, and then seeing what you've done now with the podcast and kind of layering that in with Bevy experiences. You're multi-passionate for real. Can you break down for everyone the different things that you're doing and how they intersect?
Yeah, sure thing. So I started Dope Living as a decor company, like you said, and the idea was to design collections that were based on a feeling, like feeling dopamine, but more about how you want to connect with your space, because how you connect with your space connects to your wellness, connects to, how clear you can think. There's so many advantages to creating a space that works for you. And so the thought of that, having done that over the last 2-3 years with my own space, I was like, it would be so great to design a collection that made you feel calm, made you feel excited, made you feel confident.
Yeah.
And so I started that process, and I'm still going through that process. I designed the first collection with a female product designer, and we worked together for the past year, and we created an amazing collection.
I actually love them. I already peeped them.
And so, but with anything in business, there comes a time where you have to pivot, where you have to kind of step back and think, how can I create more impact? And as I started to think about how to extend Dope Living, and every time I talk about it, everyone's like, that's dope. I love the name. I love the concept. And it just became like a deeper meaning for me and for anyone who I spoke to. It's like, well, how do we create a space that works for us? But there's so many other elements that's going on in our lives that we need to figure out. Like, how does technology affect my space? How does, the fact that I'm pursuing success in my career or successes in my business? And I had also gone through a bit of a rough time where I was trying to figure out, like, where do I belong, right?
Haven't we all had that experience?
Exactly. And the way that I came out of it, I felt like it needed to be told, like, micro actions and movement. And it's a holistic approach. And that's, to me, what Dope Living is all about. It's about bringing a holistic approach to your wellness, to your wealth, to your happiness as a whole. And so the Dope Living podcast was born out of that, because there are so many amazing conversations with you who, I mean, you have a wealth of knowledge around, strategic investing and growing a business,
but also behavioral science. So I totally understand the brain science behind it.
Exactly. And so I need to talk to people like you. And I think a lot of people need to hear from women like you who, are like badass. So that's Dope Living. And I'm a serial entrepreneur as well. My husband and I started a sign company in 2017. I have many failed businesses. I wouldn't say failed, pivoted businesses. And one that really stuck was Bevy Experiences. And I spent 2 years building it. It's a marketplace. It's a platform for curated experiences. And
in the Bahamas, by the way.
In the Bahamas.
Yeah. I need to come and try it out. Just for market research.
Definitely. I'm going to talk about that in a second. So it's for international groups that want to come to the Bahamas and experience, we curate experiences. But what's been really interesting as I talk to people about it is they find it more of a community-based platform. So the experiences that we create are wellness-based, adventure-based, coastal-based. And we had our first influencer retreat in September. We flew down 8 LA-based influencers, and we created a whole retreat around connecting local influencers, so creators in the Bahamas with the creators that we flew over, and we had an event called the Creative Exchange in conjunction with our partners Altascape Create, Tanisha Dean, and it was just an amazing, like, it was such a great platform, or it was like a testing ground for us to see how much community meant for creators, but for any group that wants to come together. And bevy actually means a group of a flock of birds, or a group that have similar interests. And so that's the definition of bevy. And so, now I'm connecting, this idea of community and content with community and experiences. And it's becoming such a great marriage.
That is so cool. I think you should trademark That's Dope. Is it possible? I mean, let's go.
I know. I gotta. That's dope.
Then you just be like, that's dope.
That's dope.
I think this is such an interesting way to approach business. And I think because I use both sides of my brain so much, right? Both, I think, very logical and also very passionate, I can truly see the connection. I think one of the things that really irked me about the last couple of years, post-pandemic, is that so many people were focused on the professional success and the accolades and the money, but actually their personal well-being was not good. So companies needed to invest in way more than just the bottom line. They needed to invest in their people, into the experiences that connect their people. And at the same time, as a human, we needed to have a much more holistic view of ourselves and how we lift ourselves up. So I love that you're doing both things. How on earth are you managing them all?
I have great help. I must admit. So, one of the role, I think, of any person that is going to start a business or take the business to the next level is starting to build a team. And that this was the first year that I've actually prioritized that as much as possible.
Smart.
And it's a small team. It's only three of us, and then whenever I can wrangle my family in it to do one or two things. But it's been prioritizing a very small team, and we have these conversations around, like, what do we want to achieve? But we're on the ground. It's really like we're building something from scratch here, and trying to figure out, like, calling people, and like today we got we've been emailing a magazine, and they finally said, hey, we're going to feature you guys. And so we're really, like, in that mode where we have a story to tell, and I do think it's going to be an amazing story that we when we all kind of come together and actually have the opportunity to tell it, it's going to connect.
For sure. You are in the validation stage. So can you walk us through kind of what that looks like right now? How are you monetizing? And what do you want to do with this ultimately?
Right. So with Dope Living, the end game for me is still the decor and the collections, right? So that is still happening. And so now we have this opportunity to create, like, the content hub of Dope Living, which is the podcast, and really starting to build a community around what we're trying to build with our collections. And so I think the monetization of that is going to be through content first, which is a little bit of a different model. Bevy is more straightforward. It's the marketplace. You started with the marketplace model, which we all know marketplaces, right? We have our Airbnbs of the world, and our, and that one's pretty straightforward because it's embedded in local tourism.
Interesting.
And so we're able to create luxury travel experiences for corporate groups, which is a very, I'm gonna say, lucrative market, right? I think the average spend on per person on a corporate group is around $3,000 per person.
Wow.
Right. So we're talking about deep pockets. And so for us now, it's a matter of really pushing out, like, we are steeped in the community in terms of rallying local hosts who have, like, really amazing experiences, really amazing stories in the culture, rallying them, getting them on the platform. And then our job is to get the corporate groups, which we know they are coming to the Bahamas. They would come anywhere, right? I had a wonderful conversation with someone who's got things in Tulum, for example. And they're like, wow, that would be great for my space as well. So, it's interesting, right? I'm not the strongest on the monetization side.
Yet.
yet.
Hey.
Yet. But I am very aware of the positioning.
That's right.
Right. And I think if everything is done, in accordance with, being able to join community,
That's right.
talk to people, that opportunities will come.
It absolutely will. Actually, as you're talking about this, it occurred to me, I've actually been hired to speak at many corporate conferences and to think about the investment that they make in speakers and experiences. That investment per person, it just goes up more and more. I think that would be an interesting lead and anchor. When I think about monetization, there's so many ways to monetize a business. And I always say, most of them you can't sleep at night. This is one I think you can feel really good about. You're helping corporate companies invest in their people. We actually had a huge conversation about this today on the show, but also shout out to Powerhouse Women. I spoke there just yesterday.
Oh, amazing.
Love them.
I know. And you flew here
I
this
flew
morning.
here right
that's
after
amazing.
speaking at Powerhouse. And that was the number one thing that people asked. We were in a room with 10-figure founders, 9-figure founders, 7-figure founders. And the biggest question was, how can I invest in my team? With a little and with a lot. So that was front of mind in a way that I was so grateful for Lindsay to have me and to share like my perspective on as few team members as possible, but to really double down on making those team members feel welcome and well taken care of.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like our sign company, we've got about 20 employees. And one of the things that I'm gonna love doing is right now we're working with a host to do a floating hotel experience.
Oh,
right?
That's dope.
Right? That's dope. And our team will be the testers of that. And for us, that is our investment into the team. And we're going to be doing that next month. And I'm really excited about those types of things. And I think a lot of people that are interested in investing in their teams are going to say, hey, like there's actually a way to do something that's different, but still bring in like the speakers that are going to talk and motivate us and get us rallied behind our vision, our North Star.
Yeah.
And I think there's so many different ways to do it that make your team feel appreciated, make them really start to touch the culture, right? Because a lot of times it's getting delivered from
it's
the
not
top.
just KPIs and a core value sheet.
Exactly. So taking it further.
This is so interesting. I wasn't expecting to go deeper into this conversation, but one of my backgrounds is a monetization expert. So when you say that you're not the strongest there, I have 8 million ideas now on how you can double down on monetization. I really believe that you're onto something, particularly with that niche. And there is a search capacity for that. There is an organization that actually is all for meeting planning, corporate event planning.
Yeah.
I have contacts there. So I would love to be able to kind of
amazing.
walk you into those relationships so that you can get bevy. I think that additional, capital that you need internally. One of the things I think most people think about when they're growing and scaling, especially multiple businesses, is how will I fund and what is the best thing for me? And actually, I can, with conviction, tell you that you can bootstrap this and be very successful at it. I sit here today, fellow Caribbean girl, and I'll tell you for sure that one of the best decisions I ever made was to go fund myself. And I see how you can leverage one business and fund aspects of the other business, and then start making decisions as you get more validation on what stage, what ideal client. One of my favorite things to do, people don't often ask me this, when I started investing and creating my investment fund, there was one linchpin that made it all so efficient. And it was basically centering everything on an ideal client. So every business, whether it's Ghost Democracy, the skincare company, whether it's Create and Cultivate that I'm an investor at, or other companies, we all have the same ideal client. So I can show up authentically and we can provide services and products authentically.
Exactly.
That would be the linchpin in you being able to grow Bevy and Dope Living synergistically.
Yeah.
I could see Dope Living products being given as like goodie bag,
right.
Really starting to think out of the box there. And also some of those corporate contracts and those connections, they're going to love being able to be thought leaders on the podcast and just kind of intersecting all three aspects.
Exactly.
It's going to be gangbusters for you. So I would love to join forces and see how I can just get you the resources you need as fast as possible.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
I think now is the time to, we had interesting conversations about AI today. And I want to leave everyone with this. I think as an early adopter to artificial intelligence, as a prompt engineer, one of the things I always was worried about was how would the human connection be maintained? And I think one of the things I've seen more than anything, especially when I would say generative AI that came out very quickly. And the version of AI that I was on was much simpler to start. And one thing that's been very persistent is that you're going to need great people, great
Exactly.
connection, human beings, high trust, because we are in a low trust, low authenticity environment. And I can see where everything you're doing is really curating trust and connection
Yes.
and good vibes. And who would say no to that?
Exactly. I mean, you said it, you hit it on the head, right? In terms of there's a complementary aspect. And I love that you say the ideal customer, because
Yeah.
that's the one thing that I've been really honing in on for the last few weeks is defining what what is the purpose. And I think we should have a purpose individually. Our business should have a purpose. So what is our purpose? And it's being that connector, being that like you say, like those good vibes.
Yeah.
But also bringing awareness. Awareness is a big part of that. In as you talk about AI, it's great. AI is amazing. What are some of the things that we need? What are some of the nuances that we need to know?
Yeah.
And also how do we then bring that into a healed version of ourselves, so we're
For
not
sure.
like you said, creating things that may not be so authentic.
Yeah, I mean, I saw an audience content recently around this topic, and I thought it was so interesting. It's like we're gonna need to know each other IRL way more than URL moving forward. And so it really makes me excited to think about ways in which that you can get in front of the customer. This actually just came to mind. I have a partnership with a company from the staging company that we own, and they make essentially pieces that are like amazing for staging. They may not be practical for the average person unless you're like me and Paris Hilton, that we like quirky stuff. But it is incredibly joy producing and interesting, textural, just really contextually dopamine driven stuff. But that's not their niche. It's more on the
Okay.
staging side.
Yeah.
So I wonder, there's a whole industry of people who stage traditionally, we stage virtually, that can start to really kind of use your concepts and maybe use some of your wisdom capital as another way to kind of really bring everything together.
Exactly. Like the science behind understanding the science behind it, understanding also the trends and what's making people tick
Yeah.
today, right? When it comes to their own spaces and doing that research now, there's just so many ideas, so
Yeah.
many things that we can do. But I interviewed the other day a lady that actually can tell me, like she was telling me everything about a space that deals with your health,
Okay.
right? Like what does clutter do to your blood sugar,
bet.
like things like that, and so I think
And that's proven, by the way.
Oh yeah.
In neuroscience, we have a lot of knowledge around somatic complaints and ways in which you can unlock, trauma and stuckness just by making tiny shifts in your environment,
Right.
in your thoughts. I mean, that's real stuff that people need to know, I think, even now and especially now. So as we wrap, I'd love to hear maybe your next big milestone that you're looking forward to. I'm a big believer in visualizing and being intentional, and we want to be intentional with you and cheer you along the way.
Yeah, for sure. So ultimately, the idea is to move out of MVP stage and start to develop the features of the platform. More than that, building that community and building up that audience is really like top of mind right now. I mean, if I had to dream, I would want to be at 100K subscribers by next year.
Awesome.
Put
it out there.
Put it out there.
I'm seeing it now.
And then actually start to sell the first collection. Like I said, the product designer and I worked really, really hard for the past year. It's an amazing collection spanning furniture, glassware, ceramics, and it's bedded in bringing nature home. And making you feel real, like calm and but also a bit of excitement in that as well. So those are some of the next steps.
I love it. I already peeped the collection. I eyed the glassware, by the way, and it looks great in my office, I think. This is great. We're going to look forward to coming along on the ride. My next steps are really clear. I want to get you connected and joint ventured with some companies that I think can just, I think, give you more of that ideal customer base faster, so you can move further faster, but stay bootstrapped and stay in your ownership, because I think that's what you really deserve.
Yeah.
So cool. Thank you so much
KK,
for
I'm
being
so
here today.
happy. Thank you so much again for having me. And Really looking forward to, staying connected
Me
and
too.
really growing from here.
For sure. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. I want to leave you with one really important thought, which is that you can join the conversation at any time. You can start supporting other founders and other businesses, both with your capital, with your patronage, or maybe just with your good ideas and thoughts about what they're doing well and what they can do better. I think we often forget that we have our own skill sets that we bring to the table, both as consumers and as producers. But ladies, I'm going to tell you, it's time to be more producers and owners, and it's time to get your assets together. I'm KK Hart, and I'm looking forward to seeing you go for growth. See you next time. Thanks for joining us. Now go out there and turn your success into action. Generational Growth is about helping you in every area that matters: mind, body, business, and self-care. Share this episode on social media and LinkedIn, and feel free to send us where you feel strong and where you need support.
Please note, this content is for entertainment purposes only and should not be considered